Sorry if you're here and you just got hit with an ad. Sorry about that. I spaced out. We're gonna sit here a little bit longer. At least until I see that clear. Is that Fortnite? No way. Oh no, that's Apex. No, that's not Apex. That Borderlands? I'm looking at the ad. Yeah, that is Borderlands. What a wild ride. Hello, Tyler. Why is my stream muted? There we go. Let me, I've got to cough real quick. Thank you for contributing to the Scuffed ASMR stream. Oh. Hold on, Leon. It might be a good idea to turn on your camera. Yeah, that might be kind of important. Just a little bit, you know, no big deal. Just like a cheeky little VTuber with no V or tuber part of it. Love that. I'm going to... Please, camera. Thank you. Okay, I think this will be good. Let me just... There we go. Oh... I guess I gotta... There's one other thing I have to do real quick. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. Let me just copy this. I have to put in my green screen chroma key. I had to change it yesterday because of the flashlight, so I have to reset my chroma. This doesn't seem right. Oh. There we go. That seems better. Before I turn into SeaBed. Let's go here for... Why am I not invisible? What? Excuse me? Where am... Oh, there I am. You know what? Also, I'm getting a bit tired of having this continually happening. Here we go. Wait, why is this? Wait, hold on. What's happening? Wait, hold on. What's going on? Huh? Wait. Tiny? What is happening? I'm so confused. What is happening? I'm so confused. Anyway. It's time for SeaBed. I'm gonna hope that SeaBed's audio is working. I actually did not check it, but hopefully it is working. I've got my water. And as always, I checked the VOD yesterday, and it does not sound as good without the backing music, but that is to be expected. What's less cool was OBS like dying on me. My encoder dying was not as cool, but what are you gonna do? I was about to delete the VOD after I uploaded it, and then I was like, hold on, there's a funny thing. I need to grab the part of Guava vaping for 25,000 damage, and then I'll delete it afterwards after I make a little funny short video out of that, like a TikTok or like a YouTube Shorts or something. But luckily for me, SeaBed is a very, like, SeaBed kind of game, where it's nice and, I guess, like, chill. So I don't have to worry about a super big file size. Also, I noticed something really weird. The Twitch clips for the streams look really good. It looks like normal. But... And my recording that I have, my VOD recording I have, also looks very clear. But the actual VOD on Twitch looks awful, and I have no idea why that's the case, but it looks really, really bad, and I don't know why. It's like super fuzzy, and it's kind of like off-putting, I guess. Anyway, move over to SeaBed. There we go. There we go. Okay, so the audio is working. I just wanted to make sure. I'm going to move back over here now. Very quiet on my end. Ah, yes. So, the last time we were here, Twitch says 11 days ago. That doesn't seem right, but that's what Twitch says. Well, maybe more like 2 weeks ago, probably. As I deal with more clog in my throat. The last time, we had this brief period of time where we saw Narasaki, Sachiko, and Takako playing doctor when they were kids, as well as the Christmas party at the sanatorium, Takako and Sachiko visiting an aquarium as a school field trip, and finally, Sachiko talking with, I don't remember her name, Nana's, aunt. And she was like, you want to hear some ghost stories? And we heard some ghost stories. Aside from that, we're roughly halfway through the game if the CGs are anything to go off of, as I mashed through this again because I accidentally clicked on it. And I still don't know what this image is for. Also, I checked the Steam site, like the page, or like the community page for this game on Steam, just to skim some things, and I didn't really find anything that looked helpful. I just found a lot of things that looked like spoilers, so I didn't open any of the posts. It was just a lot of like, question about blank, and I was like, okay, cool. So I'm not gonna click on those. We have not unlocked any tips at all, which is unfortunate. But we will just load in this last save file. 28, 7. Oh yeah, it has been 2 weeks. And we got this nice music back. I sense, actually, please catch up stream. I want to monitor how loud this is. Okay, yeah, it sounds like it's a good volume. I sensed a shadow pass over the yellow light filtering through my eyelids. Egged by curiosity, I opened my eyes to see what it was. Slanted sun rays covered the table I'd been hugging, creating a gleaming patchwork of light as they passed through the branches of the camphor tree beyond the window. I might have read some of this, I don't remember. In my still, blurry field of view, I spotted Narasaki standing by the bookshelf. When did you come here? Oh, good morning. A blanket slid down my shoulders as I raised my upper body. I felt dizzy and pressed my thumbs against my temples. I had a dream. What kind of dream? Well, after I straightened my back and used my palm to iron out the wrinkles on my clothes, I began telling her about the dream. The misty haze blanketing my mind slowly withdrew. Does that question have something to do with my condition? Not really, said Narasaki as she sat down in the chair before me. Is she? It's X, right? Can't tell. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Is that shading? It almost looks like she has like a little bit of blush, though I can't tell if it's just because of shading for the light, like the window behind her. I read a book about the interpretation of dreams the other day. Oh, that sounds interesting. Though, it doesn't sound much like you. The corners of Narasaki's lips curled up. I'm sure I've said this before, but I've got a profound sense of curiosity. Anyway, my dream started with me and Takako on the bus. It was going through what looked like the countryside and then got into a tunnel. Passing that, we emerged into a city I'd never seen before. I got worried, and after discussing it with Takako, got off the bus together. We walked around a bit, but no matter where we went, the place felt completely unfamiliar to us. Then Takako said she wanted to climb the mountain we saw in the distance. She said she could figure out where we were from a higher vantage point. So we climbed the mountain together. The details had become foggy by now, but I could remember the gist of it. Does that tell you anything? At least 3 things, I guess. From just that. First, riding in a bus symbolizes being influenced by others, regardless of your will. A place you don't know represents your dissatisfaction and wish for a change in your current life. Finally, climbing a mountain means working hard toward a certain goal. Well, does any of those ring a bell? Do any of those ring a bell? Well, when you put it like that, now that I thought about it, the whole thing about about the bus and how we got off reminded me of how Takako and I quit our jobs in the city. What happened afterwards? Then it all kind of changed. Before I knew it, I was dreaming about going to my old home in the country. The city turned into my old town, but we were still climbing a steep hill together. Yeah, I remember our old town having lots of tall hills. Yeah, and when we reached the top, we could see the entire place from high above. She looks really different. It's just her facial expression. She doesn't have like the little smirk, so it makes her look really different. We sat down on a bench and gazed at the sunset for a while. Then I realized I lost my wallet, but found it almost immediately afterwards. The money in it was all gone, but I was just happy to have it back. Narasaki's expression grew somewhat mellow. That's good. They say that seeing the countryside in your dreams means your mind is stabilizing itself and that your imagination has become richer. Really? I didn't necessarily feel that way, but her previous comments hit close to the mark, so hearing that made me feel a little relieved. Losing something means being turned down in love, while finding something means being successful in your romantic relationship. So, what does it mean if you lose something but find it soon afterwards? I'm not sure. Narasaki shook her head, making an embarrassed smile. Well, it's pretty much fortune-telling, so don't take it too seriously. The first part felt accurate enough, but I'm not sure about the rest. Well, the point is that you have fun. I'm surprised you remember everything so well, though. I'm good at remembering dreams. And I get tired easily these days, so I keep falling asleep everywhere. I suppose shallow sleep like that results in a lot of dreams. Is that where your dream ended? No, there's a bit more. Later, I met a person that claimed to know me, even though I didn't recognize them. Still, they said we were in the same class. When I tried thinking about it, I realized this person participated in the party we had shortly before we left to move to the city. What kind of person was it? In dreams, people you don't know tend to be your idolized versions of various traits. Really? I couldn't see their face, though. And the dream ended there. So did that party actually happen in the real world? I felt a little strange. Something wrong? I tried remembering who that person was, but couldn't. And when I thought about the party, I realized it was something that happened in another dream I had. I'd totally forgotten about it until then, though. You mean, you remembered one of your dreams in another dream? I think so, yes. Narasaki slowly recrossed her legs. Well, it's hardly an impossible phenomenon. Remembering other dreams inside a dream? Yeah, though I've never experienced it myself. Really? When you're awake, it's difficult to remember dreams, but easy to recall things you did during your waking hours. The opposite is also true. Why does it work that way? Because your memories are separated into two categories, one pertaining to reality, another to dreams. Your brain can tell when you're dreaming and stores your dream memories in a different place so the two don't get mixed up. So, you're saying it's easy to remember dreams when you're dreaming? It's probably a bit more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. So there are memories particular to dreams? I thought that dreams were just random images your brain assigned to the disjointed noise that went through your mind as you slept. Narasaki shook her head with a smile. I think that happens too, but you also dream when you're asleep. As for the accuracy of dream memories, I don't think your memories of reality are all that much different. I suppose so. Reading so many new Narasaki shots. I experienced that firsthand. You really do know a lot of things, Narasaki. I've just had an opportunity to research this stuff for something else. What exactly did you research? Well... People store all the things they see and hear in their head, right? However, some things are stored in a way that you can remember and use them, while others are impossible to consciously pull out. Are you still with me? Yeah, I think so. They're called conscious memories and subconscious memories. Both are memories, but you only have access to the conscious ones. I was contemplating if one could prove the existence of a subconscious thought system constantly using those memories as well. I'm not sure I understand. What happens if you prove that? Well, all I want to know is how things work. Narasaki looked out the window. The evening sun illuminated her red hair, making it look almost like flames. Oh, that's right. The bird we saw yesterday is called a red-flanked bluetail. It's a winter bird that comes here from Shikoku. You looked it up? There's a bird encyclopedia in the library. It made a brief mention of unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. Birds that travel long distances over the seasons have evolved so they can put half of their brain to sleep while the other remains alert. Apparently, it's not just birds either. Dolphins and seals are also capable of sleeping with one of their eyes closed. That's convenient. I wonder if I could work 24 hours a day if I could pull that off. As long as they abolish the overtime agreement of the Labor Standards Act. It's actually quite interesting. Can such a thing really be possible? Narasaki inhaled a breath and smiled. I wonder what one side of their brain thinks as the other sleeps, and if it's conscious of the memories of their dreams. Or if the half that slept remembers what happened during the time when the other half was awake. I don't remember anything from when I sleep, so I imagine they wouldn't either. That's so... Feeling my hands grow cold, I stuck them under the blanket covering my lap. Ooh! Narasaki hiccuped and followed my motions with her gaze. Ooh! What's your plan for today? I might just go back to my room and sleep. You're going to sleep again? My vision suddenly grew dark as I stood up. Making sure not to panic, I lowered my head a bit and endured it. I've been feeling really sleepy lately. I don't know if it's because I've changed beds, but I seem unable to get proper rest. The hallucinations might be one of the factors exhausting you. I saw Narasaki hold out her hand, and after a few seconds of staring at it, I handed her the blanket. I'm no longer seeing them. Thanks. Is that so? What are you gonna do after this? I've no plans. Narasaki? Yeah? You once said there existed another world in one's head. Yeah, I did. And Takako's there, isn't she? Narasaki slightly cocked her head, then nodded. I was thinking about what kind of place it might be, and how Takako lived there. And what conclusion did you come to? Oh wow, that's pretty cool that your Golett reached level 43, Taki. The branches in front of the window trembled. Narasaki gave them a sidelong glance. There seemed to have been a bird there, but it had since flown away. I don't know. Maybe she's seeing the past, like I did during your hypnosis. Or maybe she feels as though she's in a dream. Both of those sound closer to a dream, but I believe it's much closer to the real world than you think. You know what it's like? Well, I can make an educated guess at least. Let's start from how it differs from reality. First, the passage of time must be quite vague, since you're creating the story from your subconsciousness. No one remembers every little detail that happened during the day. But reality's like that as well, no? Yep, so no one in your world would notice anything strange. And the things you forget or are unable to remember simply disappear without a trace. Are there any other differences? The sun rises in the west and sets in the east. Why? Sorry. I made it sound more confusing than I should have. It's because of how your eyes work. Your brain recognizes light as it strikes your retinas at the back of your eyes. However, since it passes through the lens in your eyes, your brain actually gets an inverted image that also has left and right backwards. However, in your world, no one is seeing their surroundings with their eyes. As such, top and bottom, as well as left and right, are inverted. That sounds weird. If the cause is physical, such as the eyes inverting things, then wouldn't we all perceive our surroundings the same way in both worlds? No matter how I looked at it, Narasaki's statement didn't make much sense. Besides, there was no means to check or test how things were supposed to work in that hypothetical dream world anyway. How could she be so certain? You didn't just come up with all this on the spot, did you? I gave Narasaki an incredulous look. Whoops, you got me. After that, Narasaki accompanied me back to my room, then soon left, saying she had to return the blanket. Wow, she really just debated us like that, huh? I thought we were actually gonna find out some nice lore, or unravel what's happening in this game, but no. It's a joke. Also, hold on. Does this not look like a giant spider? Does that not look like a giant spider in the corner of the room every time? Every time we come into Takiko's room, or not Sachiko's room, I see it and I think it's a spider. As I mustered the willpower to get out of bed, I heard a knock on the door. Cozy time? Hello, Dawn. Are we getting cozy with the spider? Is it cozy time with the spider? Well, that's not what I wanted to grab. No spiders? You don't want to get cozy with the spider? You don't want to get cozy with the spider? Look at it. I know it's like a potted plant, but it really looks like a spider. Takes me out every time. The creepy plant has a face? Oh, it does! It does! I see it. I see what you're talking about. It looks like it's got two little eyes. That's pretty funny. It's like Yasuhiro Hagakure. As soon as I mustered the willpower to get out of bed, I heard a knock on the door. Wow, your Golett hit level 43 too? Wow, that's pretty impressive. I circled around the bed and turned the knob, opening the door. What greeted me was someone's forehead near the bottom of my field of view. It was Kozue, holding a book. Actually, I think I can move myself over, right? Really squeeze into this really squeeze into this corner. Right? Yeah. Just to block his... the least amount of the game as possible without, like, actually moving things. Hello. Here. I inspected the title of the book she handed me. The Farmer's Almanac of 1873? What a classic. It seemed to be an encyclopedia about plants and animals. I returned my gaze to Kozue and saw her looking somewhere behind my back. Is this for me? I asked. She looked up at me, her thin brows knitted. But after a few moments, Kozue seemed to have shifted her gaze back to the room. I realized it was the interior that seemed to have sparked her interest. Would you like to see the inside of the room? I opened the door wide and moved away from the doorway. Instead of going in, though, Kozue looked up at me again and asked if I wasn't going to sleep. Oh, did I mute the Elgato? I thought something was weird. I was wondering why the music went away. Oops. Oh, it's fine. It's still too early for bed anyway. After a few seconds of hesitation, Kozue finally stepped into the room. She momentarily glanced back as I closed the door, but soon returned her gaze to the room and looking over the ceiling and the walls. As Kozue moved toward the cabinet, I picked up a cardigan from the dresser's chair and put it over my shoulders. Then I sat down in the chair by the window and opened the book she had brought. Flipping through a few pages, I saw introductions of various plants and animals, all illustrated with large, colorful pictures. The table of contents listed a number of different animal names: chupacabra, antelope, pronghorn antelope, white-tailed deer, honey badger, normal badger, syrup badger, cane sugar badger, stevia leaf badger, Splenda badger, artificial sweetener badger. You know. Oh, I think I actually skipped something, hold on. Though thick, the book was easy to carry in one hand. I imagined it was designed to allow one to quickly confirm things while out in the wilderness. Do you like old things like this? What is it, like the Big Book of Animals? Oh, do you like old things like this? Not as much as you or Nana. Why do you ask? Few people ever come to stay here in the middle of nowhere. All their regular customers have a thing for old mansions. I see. What did you like about old things? Well, I suppose it's like Nana said. You can trust them to serve you well, considering they haven't fallen apart after so many years of use. Kozue picked up a transparent amber key holder from the dresser. Don't take it while I'm still looking, I joked. These antiques also make you imagine all sorts of things. It's fun thinking about what kind of European lady might have once been reflected in this mirror in the past, or how the mirror even found its way here to begin with. It's almost like the mansion in Clue. It makes me wonder how the mirror must feel about reflecting a pair of black eyes and dark hair, after seeing blonde hair and blue eyes all its life. Huh. Kozue placed the key holder back on the dresser. Instead, she picked up a glass toy from it and sat down in the chair facing me. Did you come here alone? She asked. Yes. Yes? Yep. The glass toy had seaweed and fish painted on it. Kokumi? It was filled with water and had small rings of various colors. There was also a pole inside, which, to my understanding, was used to catch those rings. It's one of those things! Kozue pushed a button at the bottom of the case, which made the colored rings dance all over the case due to the artificial current. Oh, that's nostalgic. There was a similar toy in the beauty salon I used to visit. Huh? She pushed the button harder, trying to collect the rings on the edges, but instead ended up losing the one she had already caught. She furrowed her brows. I shifted my gaze to my book and turned to the page about winter. Oh, almost forgot. Thanks for the other day, said Kozue with a certain abruptness. Don't worry about it. I had fun too. I found a cute picture of a long-tailed tit. There were 4 of them on a long branch. They all looked like teeny white balls of fur with black spots for eyes and beaks. The one on the far left was looking straight at the camera. With its head tilted to the side, it appeared almost befuddled. Oh, I'm sorry. Feeling someone's gaze on me, I looked up from the box. And suddenly, before I had time to react, it's good to know that the soundboard's working now. Kozue had stopped playing with the rings and was looking at me. The irises of her big eyes gave me a long, hard stare, as if trying to penetrate my very soul. Is something the matter? You're weird. I had never seen irises as light in color as hers. Combined with her refined features, Kozue's gaze appeared almost uncanny. Most people would have trouble meeting a gaze like hers. Most people except for me, of course. Me? Really? But I was told the same thing, that I'm weird. Who told you that? My uncle, and my physics teacher. I tried imagining the context where that could have happened, but nothing concrete came to mind. What do you think is weird about you? I don't know. Then, what do you think is weird about me? You're like me, yet you also keep talking to me. Unlike me, I would never talk to me. And you have this odd, mysterious feeling about you. Kozue was a bit too forward for her own good, and her glare could occasionally be intimidating, but given her cute looks, approaching and talking to her didn't feel all that odd to me. But perhaps my trip to a faraway place that had left me in a state of mild euphoria had impeded my judgment. I honestly couldn't tell. There are all sorts of people in the world. I told her I wasn't that weird. I'm only a little weird. Kozue, however, seemed hesitant to believe me. I tried explaining to her that putting ketchup on cottage cheese was normal, but she just wasn't having it. As I strolled through the inner yard, escorting Kozue outside, the music that started playing reminded me of a Ghibli movie for some reason, and I spotted Nanae through the cafeteria's window. Nanae seemed deep in thought, staring at the surface of the table. She failed to notice me, even as I approached the window. I lightly knocked on the glass window. Though initially startled, she turned to me with a smile. She made a gesture, inviting me inside. As I had no other plans anyway, I entered the building through the side door and continued to the cafeteria. She's wonderful. Inside, Nanae was examining a large piece of paper, a floor plan of sorts, spread out on the table, along with a bunch of pictures depicting furniture. I bought some new furniture, so I was thinking of redecorating a few rooms. I see. Upon closer inspection, I realized that the large piece of paper was the floor plan of the mansion, complete with Nanae's hand-drawn sketches of each individual room's interior. She also had pictures of furniture aligned to each room, making the floor plan easier to understand. Some of them seemed to have been taken back in their home countries, while others were shot in this very mansion. How do you want to change it? I felt our lobby was a bit too empty, so I was thinking a place to put books. I was thinking to place a bookcase there. And these two rooms have too much of a country atmosphere compared to the rest, so I want to make them feel more traditionally Western. Nana showed me pictures of the room. I see. And these are the new furniture. Yeah. Nana nodded as I skipped the dialogue. As I looked over the pictures. Do you often do this kind of redecoration? Once a year or so. It's more like a hobby of mine, to be honest. A hobby? Yeah, it's like a hobby. I'm turning this place into something closer to my ideal. What kind of ideal is that, exactly? Well, in short, an old Western mansion, like the ones you see in movies. The very first owner of this place was actually a Westerner, and it used to be the exact style I like. Unfortunately, the next owner thought the place felt old and dusty, so he decided to replace all the furniture with more modern stuff. That was not cool. Well, it wasn't particularly ugly or anything, but my mother took over the mansion before he changed everything. So now we're stuck in this weird transitional phase. I want to unify the atmosphere to match either of the two styles, and if possible, I'd prefer the original old-fashioned one. I see. I mean, most of our guests are into historical things like that. Why else would they visit a place out here in the middle of nowhere? Nana returned to her work, rearranging the pictures while mumbling to herself. The Valley Girl's really fun. Maybe I should change the chair and shelf in this room and place the remaining table in this one. Like this. Nana rearranged the pictures and gave me a "what do you think?" kind of look. I think that sounds nice, but don't you think those tables and chairs are far too big for this room? Depending on where you place the chairs, you might have trouble opening the doors of this wardrobe. Nana gave the floor plan another look. You have a point. I guess I can't change the table in this room after all. What do you think about this new reading corner? Said reading corner was situated in an extra space in the lobby. It consisted of a small bookshelf, a small knee-high round table, and a largish one-seater sofa. I think it's nice, but maybe a bit too functional if you're going for atmosphere. For example, if you put a shelf against this wall between the entrance and the corridor, use this tall writing desk instead of the small table, and then put your sofa here. Don't you think it looks better that way? I rearranged her pictures. Yeah, you're right. It's definitely looking good. It's like a small study now. It makes me want to add a bit more miscellaneous fluff though. Like a desk lamp and such. Oh, it makes me want to add more miscellaneous fluff though. Like a desk lamp and such. She pulled out an album with pictures of all sorts of decorations. You seem to be enjoying this. I am. I love stuff like this. I enjoy imagining how my guests would use them and such. For example, this chair in the lobby is real comfortable. It's perfect for reading a book in the afternoon with some light coming in through the stained glass. It's calming enough to make you forget the passage of time and let you get immersed in your book or newspaper or whatever. But once the sun begins to set, the light falling on you from this angle will serve as a reminder of what time it is. She's just like me for real. Huh, but you already have that big clock in the lobby. It's gonna be so comfortable, you'll forget all about it. I tried to recall the last time I focused so hard on my reading that I completely blocked out the sounds of the outside world, but soon gave up and just gave a patronizing, okay. I'm serious. Well, I understand what you're trying to say, more or less. Really? She gave me a skeptical look, but her expression soon changed. Ah, that's right. You're a professional as far as design is concerned. I guess you would understand a creative spirit, she added. It wasn't me, but a friend of mine in kindergarten built a waterway in a sandbox to amuse herself. Huh? Nana knitted her eyebrows and gave me a puzzled look. You dig a bunch of little ditches in the sandbox, like a labyrinth, then use a gardening hose to fill them with water. I showed her the size of the ditches with my fingers. The ones who had to pay the water bill probably weren't too amused. Oh, the ones who had to pay the water bill probably weren't too amused. I nodded. You bet. There was a sandbox behind our apartment, and the landlord was fuming when he found out what she was doing. Apparently, the park behind our building was also his property, and he was responsible for water bills. Anyway, you can make tunnels, mountains, and lakes in the sand like that. When I asked her why she went to such lengths for a simple game, she said she made it so the tadpoles and the water striders wouldn't be bored. I actually did spot some water striders in her waterways. Most of them flew away soon after, but one continued along the waterway, even passing under the tunnel. I think I get the picture, but I'm not sure how I feel about being compared to that. Nana made a complex expression, smiling with her lips and eyes while also knitting her eyebrows in a display of embarrassment. I suppose so. I was thinking of using an example with a deserted island or a diorama, but chose a more unusual one instead. I'm kinda curious about that deserted island now. Oh, but that girl who made the waterways in the sand, well, she later turned out to be quite talented in the field of design. I guess that makes it better. I do admit this place is a bit like my personal miniature garden, or sandbox. I think everyone has something like that, just on a different scale. I guess so. Exactly what kind of Western mansion do you want to turn this place into? Elizabethan, Gothic, Victorian, other European building styles, Greco-Roman. That's all I got. Renaissance. I'm trying to recreate the style of when this mansion was actually used as a normal residence. You know, actually, have you ever seen Howl's Moving Castle? That'd be a great thing to base this off of. My mother showed me some old pictures of the place and I got totally enthralled by them. Back then though, I wasn't entirely sure what made me feel that way. And now? Nana paused to think for a few moments. Moments? Yeah, that didn't sound right to me for whatever reason. Well, one thing I can tell is that it was completely different from what we have now. I mean, back in those days, the Western design incorporated a variety of styles, sometimes mixing Renaissance, Neoclassical, Vienna Secession, and other approaches, plus, their dumbwaiter actually worked. I think one of the charms that got me was how it seemed to favor style over functionality. You know, it was really cool how even though they lived in the house, they were more concerned about how it looked versus how easy it was to live in. Our modern architecture copied the functional parts of Western style, but they valued artistic merit just as much as convenience. What we currently have is the result of an attempt to speedily rebuild Japan after the war, as well as to make sure our cities don't fall apart during earthquakes, the epitome of efficiency and minimal cost. Smiling, Nana snapped her fingers as I replied. Oh, that was Takako. Oops. Or that was Sachiko. Oops. That's exactly right. All this historical background is precisely what I love about old architecture. The current design of the Western mansions was born as a result of the trial and error approach of various artisans who all had their own ideas about what the perfect work should look like. When you stand in an old room like that, you cannot help but feel the anxiety and anticipation of the early modern age. However, just as you said, these kinds of mansions stopped being built after the war, giving way for more functional structures. Our cities took a completely different shape compared to what those artists of old envisioned. It's like the war had made our paths diverge. So, when I'm in a place like this, I get the sense of being abandoned by time. A vague and poignant emptiness similar to watching dinosaur bones in a museum. The strong and deep emotions of old have seeped into the very walls of the place, silently drifting in the air all around people like us ignorant of time. Anyway, this feeling is precisely what draws me to antiques. I imagine that must have been pretty hard to understand. Sorry. No, I think I can empathize with that on some level. Phew. I kinda just blurted out whatever popped in my mind, so I'm glad it ended up making some iota of sense. It's a complex feeling, but I think I've experienced it myself. Nice. I obviously didn't think about that deeply as a child, but the feeling I got when I saw those pictures was something similar, I think. I was seeing it for the first time, yet for some reason, I felt somewhat nostalgic and lonely. I guess I've liked complex feelings like that ever since I was young. Some might call it mana no owae. Anyway, I ended up going off on a tangent there, but basically I did want to turn this mansion into the kind of place that gives me the same kind of feeling as those pictures. I'm not one for flattery, but I like this place. Oh wait, no, I like this place. That was Sachiko again, oops. Thanks. I tried, she added with a smile. But it definitely doesn't feel complete yet. There's still a bunch of rooms that feel like they could use some work, especially when you can compare them to those pictures. Atmosphere is not easy to recreate. Yeah. After all, it's the unusually unique sensitivities of the age that translate into peculiarities of design. Perhaps it's impossible to perfectly recreate it to begin with. However, if I wait for the place to age naturally, I'll end up 6 feet under before I achieve anything that I'm satisfied with. So, you're planning to do as much as you can for now? Yep, Nanai answered, flashing a happy smile. Anyway, will you help me out on this now that you've heard my story and everything? Sure. To the best of my abilities, at least. I sat down in the chair facing Nanai. She too lowered herself into a nearby seat. Also, she obviously doesn't have a Valley accent, but so much of her dialogue reads like she has a Valley accent. We spent some time discussing the layout of the rooms in the mansion. We kept rearranging pictures and sketching new plans. We exchanged ideas, nodded to each other, or shook our heads. Whenever there was a prolonged period of silence, Nanai would start humming a song under her breath. A song that most people had likely heard at one point in their lives. At first, I didn't pay it much attention, but the more she repeated that one phrase, "We are never ever ever getting back together." Why does Mary only ever have sheep? Oh. Well, that was decidedly less exciting than I thought it was gonna be. Huh? I guess it's just the first thing that came to the mind of whoever wrote it? Now that you ask, I wonder who Mary even is. She's a girl with sheep, a character in some Western folktale. That song was actually from a folktale? Mary Sawyer takes a sheep to the school, which causes a commotion. Seriously? I've always thought Mary was the name of the sheep. If that was the case, you'd end up with a sheep owning a sheep. I guess so. That's why I thought it was weird. I guess I'm stupid, Nanai chuckled to herself. I couldn't help chuckling myself. I bet Auntie doesn't know either. She's really not helping herself with the whole, haha blonde valley girl thing. Let's tell her later. I feel like she would know. I wouldn't be too sure about that. Nana returned her eyes to the pictures and resumed her work. I started moving my hands as well. As they say, many hands make light work, but we only had 4 hands, so the work was actually quite heavy. I think this is about it. It didn't take us long, as Nana had already more or less decided what she wanted from her lobby and the 2 rooms before I came. Okay, so first we actually have to set up the furniture and see things for ourselves before we can come to a decision, Nana uttered under her breath. When will that be? It's still a ways off. What a wonderful face. Some of the furniture hasn't even been delivered yet, slightly sheepish. I'd love to do it right away, but what can you do? Nana began clearing the pictures and drafts from the table. I stuffed the writing utensils in a case I found lying around. I see. Nana thanked me as I handed her the case. I can definitely tell you're a professional. I think those rooms are gonna look real awesome now. Glad to have been of help. And it was more fun to hiccup together. I'll prepare you something great for dinner as a token of my appreciation. That sounds nice. Nana stretched her back and walked off toward the counter, saying she'll make some more coffee. I leaned back against the chair while seeing her off. I suddenly felt my body become heavy. See ya! Chico. It could be worse. I was just thinking now, when she said coffee, it could have been way worse. I could have given her like a New England accent. Can you imagine? Wait, hold on, let me get into the... I tried doing it. The New England accent did not turn out well. Hey, I'm walking here. Okay, so first we actually have to set up the furniture and see things for ourselves before we can actually come to a decision. When will that way? It's still a ways off. Some of the furniture hasn't even been delivered yet. I'd love to do it right away, but what can you do? What can you do? What was that do at the end? I see. Nana thanked me as I handed her the case. I can definitely tell you're a professional. I think those rooms are gonna look real awesome now. Oh no. I'm very satisfied with my Valley accent. I'm also much more confident in my ability to consistently do a Valley accent than to do any other accent. Aside from like a real bad southern accent, you know, like a really like not southern at all, but kind of like what people think a southern accent sounds like, but doesn't actually sound like at all. It's not really a southern accent at all, I guess. It's more of a country accent, which I guess kind of gets associated with the South, but really isn't southern in a way. I don't know. But I don't think people would have wanted Nana to sound like that either. And yeah, there aren't any other accents I could reasonably do. I muted the mic and tried doing a German accent, and somehow it turned into like an Irish accent that somehow then turned into like a Scottish accent, and I was just like, no. I felt like someone had just called out to me. Opening my eyes, I saw Nana right in front of me. There were 2 cups of steaming coffee on the table. Did you get tired? Seems that way. I've been feeling kind of fatigued, easily fatigued lately. I brought the cup closer to my chest, letting the smell of the coffee dispel some of my drowsiness. Are you having enough rest? Yeah. I see. If there's a problem with the room or something, don't hesitate to tell me. Thanks. But I like that room. There are no problems as far as I'm aware. I swirled the coffee in the cup a little before taking a sip. I felt its bitterness spread across my tongue. Irka. By the way, have you spoken with Auntie since then? Huh? No. Why? The last time I spoke to her was when I went to her underground room with Kozue and Narasaki. That doesn't sound weird at all. At least, I didn't remember talking to her since then. She was asking about you, so I wondered— oh wait. She was asking about you, so I wondered if maybe something happened. Nothing did, as far as I'm aware. I see. Nana returned her eyes to the pictures and began doing something else again. My auntie looks like she has her head in the clouds, but she's actually extremely sharp. I lost something a few times, and when I'd already given up on seeing them ever again, she found them right away after hearing a few clues. I don't know why, but when the locals around here have problems, they tend to go to her for advice. If you got something on your mind, you can try talking to her. I recalled the laid-back air Lily had about her when we met her. I had to admit, she did feel like someone you could rely on. I see you trust her quite a bit. I just trust her vast life experience. I'll make sure to talk to her if I find myself troubled by something. Please do. She's a good listener. Now that I think about it, maybe she just wants to speak to someone new, which perfectly explains her interest in you. As we finished our coffee, Nana and I stood up and collected all the materials we piled up in the corner of the table. Another amazing collection of my Nana sprites. I'll go start preparing dinner. Do you have any other plans for today? Nope. Would you like me to help you with the cooking? No need. You're a guest here, Sachiko. You should relax. You need to be more chill, Sachiko. We left the cafeteria together and parted ways in the lobby. Be more chill. I heard a on the door. It's me. I'm coming in. I bet it's Narasaki. Knew it. I sat up in bed just as someone entered the door. Entered the room. The person closed the door and turned around to face me. Is something wrong? I looked at her face, narrowing my eyes. Narasaki. Hello? Are you still half asleep? That's strange. I thought I locked the door. Narasaki made a puzzled expression and tried the knob again. What is happening? Oh. Well, it certainly wasn't locked unless I'm strong enough to break the door without noticing it. Are you already going to sleep? It's only 11:32. If that's the case, I'll go find something else to do. It's okay. I thought it was too early to sleep anyway. I'll really not wake up in the middle of the night later. Okay then. Narasaki sat down in the chair at the end of the room, right next to the window. The same one she used when we played chess. I feel like I've already had a conversation like this with someone before. Not with me, I hope. Could that be some... Oh wait, I don't actually have this as a soundboard. I was gonna say, deja vu. Narasaki shrugged her shoulders. For some reason, even an exaggerated motion like that looked natural when she did it. I can't shrug. My model doesn't allow it. I don't have shoulder tracking. Ah, that's right. Kozue came to my room during the afternoon. She brought this book with her. I imagine it was the Great Big Book of Animals. Oh, here it is. Narasaki picked up the book from the table. So, she really did hiccup for it. I'll have to thank her later. I nodded. Just as I figured, it was something Narasaki asked of her. What were you doing today? I went to watch the lake early in the morning, then I looked something up in the library until noon, and then... I guess I played house for a while? You played house? I was almost sure I'd misheard. Narasaki made a meaningful smile. Well, what were you doing then? I was working. Working? I tried climbing out of bed, but Narasaki said there was no need. As I was hesitating, Narasaki handed me the cardigan from the chair. I took it from her and placed it over my shoulders. So, what was that you said about work? I told Narasaki about how I helped Nanae redesign her rooms. A miniature garden, huh? I love stuff like that too. Really? A while back, I played a game where you were the mayor and had to build a new town. It was pretty cool. I think it was called Creature Pathway? I know that one. Takako liked these kinds of games too. You build houses, roads, museums, and so on. It took me forever until I figured out how the electricity plant worked. But figuring out things out is the part you love, no? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What? There was an odd pause in her answer, almost as if I'd gotten the dialogue mixed up. I felt like her easygoing attitude wavered for a barely perceptible moment. However, I couldn't quite ask her about it in a way that made sense, so I had no choice but to change the subject. Have you spoken to Lily since then? I had a chat with her while you were sleeping at the end of the corridor. I see. Why are you asking? Are you maybe interested in her? Nanae told me to talk to her if I ever had something on my mind. Well, that's just boring. Nanae seemed to fall deep in thought. I feel like everyone's been worrying about me ever since I came here. I wonder if I come off as strange. You don't need to worry about being a little strange. Everyone's strange in their own way. It's what makes us unique. We're not manufactured in a factory, you know. And since we're all strange, even me, I guess you could call me Dr. Strange. Then, why is it always me? It should have been me, not him. Everyone's more or less strange, but some are better at hiding it than others. They do it unconsciously, though. Well, I can imagine reading the mood and not standing out, but isn't it a problem when you can't act normal even when you try? I'm not trying to make everyone worry about me. Narasaki lightly shook her head. I'd say you're actually better at that than most. But right now you're tired, and it's not working as well as usual. Is there anything in particular bothering you? I remembered what I was thinking about in bed before Narasaki came. I was mulling over what you said about the structure of my hallucinations. You mean how you forgot all about the funeral and the date of the trip? Yeah. The way I created an alternate office in my head so I could trick myself into thinking Takako was still around. I'm not the kind of person who usually dwells in her past, so I thought I wouldn't have made up such a ridiculous story. But after our conversations, I began wondering if I couldn't have done it without my knowledge. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I did something creative today for the first time in a long while, and it was really fun. Nanae seemed to be having fun too, so I asked her why. She said it was fun to imagine how someone would sit in the same chair we relocated to the lobby, and I found myself agreeing. I paused there. I hadn't really collected my thoughts just yet. You mean like imagining Takako sitting in that chair? Yeah, I do it during work too, but even in the past, I kept imagining similar things as I read books. So the fact that I came up with an alternate office in my head wasn't all that strange either. You said there was a reason for it. I did. It might just be that I wanted to meet Takako again, even if it was through a farce. So, you're saying you made up Takako just like that lobby's design? That was the idea. I guess that's possible. I pulled out one hand from under the sheets and showed Narasaki my palm and knuckles. When you're creating something, you keep imagining people seeing and using it. You have to judge it from various perspectives. You imagine where it's going to be and how it's going to be used, and you start thinking from the viewpoint of those people watching or using it. Both Takako and I loved imagining such things, and that's why we chose this kind of field of work. I see. You two did have pretty active imaginations. I wouldn't be surprised if yours worked to serve one of your unconscious cravings. That's what I've been thinking about after designing the rooms with Nana. An unconscious craving, huh? However, you should know that it stops being unconscious the moment you acknowledge it. Now that you're aware of Takako's situation, there's no reason why you should keep seeing her. Yeah, what's your opinion about that? Narasaki slumped in the chair and crossed her legs. Her index finger and thumb were on her chin, indicating that she was deep in thought. I think you're on the right track. Don't you find it a bit too simple, though? Depends on how you feel about it. Remember that it's all inside you. It makes sense at the very least. Narasaki pulled out her usual notebook from her pocket, placed it on the table, and flipped it open. Is there anything in particular bothering you? She asked, taking out her pen. I suppose the explanation makes sense, but then what about the hallucination I saw the night you came? As I've said before, you don't get cured overnight. Have you seen anything else since then? No, that was the only one since coming here. Okay, but even if we say that my hallucinations have been more or less cured, what about the ringing in my ears? I haven't heard that since coming here either. Could it have been a result of the stress caused by the hallucinations? I don't know, but that sounds like a solid guess. Narasaki placed her pen on the table with an audible. She quickly picked it up again, surprised by the sound she herself had caused. Anything else? Those were the only things bothering me. Other than that, and I've said this before, I feel unusually exhausted and sleep a lot. They say your brain arranges information in your head as you sleep. Maybe it's related to the fact that you're on your way to getting better. Or perhaps you simply don't get enough sleep at night. What have I said about reading manga late at night? For example, you keep thinking about these things in bed instead of sleeping. In any case, I don't think you should pay it too much mind. You're on vacation. You can sleep as much as you want. I could sleep as much as I wanted. I suppose so. Narasaki made a gentle smile as I said that. Suddenly, I felt an odd sense of discomfort, reminiscent of a tiny drop of water falling on my head. I have a feeling I'll be able to sleep well today. Thanks for hearing me out. It's no problem. I mean, that's what I came here for. I thought back on that sense of discomfort from just a moment ago. I realized why I felt that. Because Narasaki's smile seemed somehow different from the way that she usually smiled back at the clinic. You going to sleep? It was still early, and talking made my drowsiness go away. I felt like talking a bit more. Oh, I'll stay awake for a while longer. Okay. Narasaki smiled. Then we shifted the subject to the interpretation of dreams. Do you have these kinds of dreams a lot? Narasaki asked. Yeah, I tend to dream of places I've never been to before. I also have episodes from my actual past sometimes. I'd love to hear about your other dreams, provided you can still remember them. Well, you know how dreams are. I barely remember anything. Oh, that's fine. Just tell me what you can remember. I told Narasaki about what I dreamed about recently. She kept taking notes in her notebook. She didn't write down everything, though. At times, she simply listened. That's about it. I told her everything I could remember. Narasaki was still writing something in her notebook. Our conversation came to an end around the time the clock struck 10. I thanked Narasaki again. However, she once again said it was no problem at all, then left the room. I turned off the lights and closed my eyes. For the first time in a long while, I fell asleep right away. I had a dream of my past again. Do-do-do-do-do. See? What did I say? I knew it was happening. I knew we were gonna get a title screen. Okay, that's enough of that. The sand in the sandbox was powder-like, as though it was delivered here straight from the beach. I could spot pink and white pieces of shells mixed into it. Is it loud enough if I whisper? Takako overturned her water-filled bucket. As the sand absorbed the water and changed color, she scooped up a handful and put it on top of her mouth. It reached all the way up to her belly button. This should be good enough. Let's make a tunnel next. Start digging from that side. Takako started digging without waiting for my reply. The sand was still wet, and I'm gonna stop doing that. And showed no signs of crumbling away, even when I dug a hole in it. I continued digging until my hand passed through it and touched something soft. Aha! Takako tried to catch my hand, so I pulled it away. We have to connect it properly so it can pass through. What can pass through? We both made our holes wider and strengthened their walls with more wet sand. We're gonna make a water channel pass through this. I'll go bring the water hose once we make a place for a waterfall here. You're gonna be angry again if we use the hose without permission. Relax, I'll make sure they don't find out. We continued working in silence. Oh, that's quite the mountain there. And I see you've even made a tunnel. Oh, Miss Nurse. The kindergarten nurse came to check on us. She wore an apron with pink tulips embroidered on it. Wait, a nurse? Oh, what was that? A nurse with an apron and pink tulips? Chisa Yukazomi, is that you? Chisa Yukazomi? Also, I like that, like, everything died when I did that. What are you making? Right now, a waterway. Oh, but you can't fill the sandbox with water. Relax. I'll make sure they don't find out. Takako continued working in silence. Said the nurse. Takako, you're not supposed to use the hose. Oh, don't worry, Miss Nurse. I'll make sure they won't find out. The chilly air in the room woke me up earlier than usual. I went out for a walk to kill some time before breakfast and ran into Lily as she was sweeping the leaves off the path in front of the entrance. Morning. Good morning. Today's pretty chilly, isn't it? Indeed! Wait, actually, hold on. Something's wrong with my drivers. Something's very, very wrong.
Indeed! Indeed!
The clouds should clear up by noon though, so it'll get warmer then. There's a big bamboo basket filled with leaves by the entrance. Cleaning up must be a pain during this season. It certainly is, answered Lily, smiling. Aren't you officially closed right now though? Oh, this is just a part of my daily routine. Besides, it's good exercise. I see. I saw Lily brush the leaves into a dustpan, so I brought the bucket over to her. She looked up and thanked me. As the leaves were safely delivered to the basket, Lily gave me a hard look. Have you been sleeping well? She pointed at the area below her eyes. Perhaps I've been enjoying myself a little too much. It's good to be active, but don't overdo it. A gust of wind swept across the yard. It turned into a kind of minor whirlwind, sweeping dust into the air. Though Lily pressed the leaves she had collected down with her broom, some of them nonetheless flew up into the sky. Oh my, she said, watching them fly off. I spent the time until breakfast talking with Lily and helping her with her chores. I heard a high-pitched voice next to me. Can you hear me? Yes? The person that voice belonged to had her pale eyes fixed on me. I looked around, having just been pulled out of the darkness of deep thought. This goes away, right? Oh, it's Narasaki now. I'm sorry, what were we talking about? Are you going senile? A beam of light fell directly on the table, illuminating the tiny pieces of dust on it. I was surrounded by countless books, almost as many as there were stars in the sky. A cute, pale-haired girl was looking at me. I got lost in thought all alone. I do that too, but never in front of people. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry about that. I was asking what kind of children's games you were talking about. From the tone of her voice, I could tell she wasn't really upset. Like playing in the sandbox. Or with dolls? Just how many years did you spend playing with those things? We were talking about children my age. I mean, it all started when you asked me if I played like other kids my age. Hearing that, I finally recalled some of our conversation. Kozue stared at me with suspicious eyes. Suspicious eyes are watching you, da-da. Well, you can ask your classmates about that one. Kozue leaned against her chair. This might sound surprising, but I don't actually know anyone well enough to start asking questions like that in class. And I'm not planning on making new friends either. Why? Too much effort. Why do you feel that way? I'm not interested in what they're talking about. And what are they talking about? Boys usually talk about video games. They keep talking about Fortnite, while girls discuss TVs and idols. They've all been talking about BTS lately, and they just will not shut up about it. Sometimes they go to karaoke and events or whatever. And you never felt like joining them? You never wanted to be part of ARMY? If they invited me, I'd refuse. Me being there would only sour the mood. You don't have to reject them. It could turn out to be pretty fun once you actually try it. I don't watch TV, so I wouldn't be able to follow their conversations anyway. Kozue was talking much faster than usual. While she seemed concerned to the subject to an extent, she obviously had reservations about discussing it in a public place like this. While I tried to come up with a way to change the subject, Kozue let out a brief sigh. How did we even start talking about this anyway? Now she's getting valley. We were discussing various ways of relaxation, and that developed into a conversation about hobbies and such. Yeah. You were so out of it, I almost thought you'd forgotten. Look, I do feel bad about it, okay? Well, fine, as long as you're aware of it. Relaxation, she mumbled under her breath. Reading books and looking things up would probably fall into that category for me. Everyone's different. So, what I'm doing right now is like a game to me. What's playing, anyway? Playing is playing. There should be a dictionary around here if you want the exact definition. I mean, we're in a library. Kozue raised her face and looked at all the shelves surrounding her. I don't know where the dictionaries are. Wanna go look? I placed my hand on the armrest. I'll do that. Kozue stood up and promptly disappeared into the library's sea of shelves. Well then. I stood up and headed in the opposite direction. There was a library map by the counter. Kozue looked like she wanted to compete who would find the dictionary first. As I walked between the shelves of large books and textbooks looking for the Japanese dictionary, I spotted Kozue on the second floor. She waved at me with a book in her hand. I returned to the desk. Kozue descended the stairs with the dictionary safely in her grasp. You were fast. I recalled spotting it back when I was looking for your bird encyclopedia. I see. Kozue placed the book, which looked somewhat too large to be comfortably held in your hands, on the table and flipped it open. She found a page with the entry on play. When intelligent animals, people included, engage in an activity for the sake of recreation and self-satisfaction rather than a serious or practical purpose. Doesn't include activities that are performed out of necessity rather than personal desire, such as sleeping or hunting for survival. Kozue read the entry aloud. For the sake of recreation and self-satisfaction, rather than a serious or practical purpose. Kozue mumbled that bit under her nose. Does your research give you satisfaction? I'd say that's an accurate enough description, Kozue answered, slightly tilting her head. In that case, what you're doing here is playing. Kozue frowned in a display of discontent. It's a bit more vague than I thought. Really? If satisfaction is the only thing that defines playing, then everything in the world can be a game. I was hoping to see some actual criteria that could definitively separate playing from not playing. Ooh, that was the game. I've said this before, but it's different for anyone. Any activity can be considered playing, as long as it gives you that kind of mental benefit. Kozue's small, graceful hands closed the book. Are you satisfied? Well, I guess so. On a scale from 1 to 0, are you satisfied? Did you already know what we'd find in the book? Kozue, I'm asking you a question. On a scale from 1 to 2 now, are you satisfied? Yeah, it was close to what I expected. Oh, it was close to what I expected. After all, it's close to my field. Now I feel like I've wasted my time. Hey, no need to get upset. Kozue looked up a few more words in the dictionary, jotted something down in her notes, then went to the second floor to return the book. I remembered something just now, she said as she came back. When I was little, I used to play with a penguin slide a lot. It was this big and ran on batteries. It consisted of an ice mountain, a slide, and a tunnel running through it. Wait a second. Wait, hold on. Wait. Hold on a second. Wait. Was it? Was it this? Wait, is this it? Let me open this. Let me get this open. Is she talking about something like... Indeed! Is she talking about something like this? Is this what she's talking about? I mean, there's no tunnel. There's no tunnel, but there's an ice mountain and I guess there's a slide. But there's not really a tunnel. And it's got 2 batteries. Is this what she's talking about? It'd be really funny if that's what she's talking about, because I have this. Or I had it. I don't know if I don't know where, if it still, like, exists. But that was something I had. That's really funny. Mechanized penguins to climb up the mountain and slide. Yeah, that was exactly what that was. That's really funny. Anyway, you could basically repeat the whole thing over and 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 over again. Kinda like the lyrics for Say So. She showed the size of the penguins and how they moved with their hands. I can still remember it. These penguins were all different colors and would always slide down one after the other in the same order. I really liked the black one and watched him most of the time. I never grew tired of it. Just looking at the thing filled me with satisfaction. The only thing you can do with that toy is look at it? Yes. I wonder why I liked it that much. She narrowed her eyes, falling in thought for a moment. Well, for starters, it looked cute, which caught your attention. Then you probably enjoyed imagining how the mechanism worked, or gave the penguins various roles and personalities in your mind. You really liked it, didn't you? I added. Yes. Do you still have it? I didn't know. It ran out of batteries one day, and I think I forgot all about it. Never could get those screws open. I see. That wasn't... Oh, no, that's not that. I wonder where it is now. Now I feel all nostalgic after remembering it. I hope nobody threw it away or something. Kozue spent some time searching for her penguin slide's whereabouts in her mind, but returned to her research after a while. We exchanged a few words over that time, but didn't talk about anything particularly significant. As the library grew dark, Kozue cleared up her tools and left. I figured I could accompany her until the tunnel. The embroidery of water lilies on Kozue's bag swayed to the rhythm of her steps as she traversed the stone path that wasn't designed with her short legs in mind. That's a cute bag. I made it in my industrial art class. She glanced at the bag herself. You made it yourself? You're very talented. I wanted to add more decorations, but I didn't have the time. You like sewing? Kozue took another 3 steps forward in silence. Not really. I guess I like it more than the rest of my classes, though. I see. Home ec wins again. I suddenly remembered what Sachiko told me about one of her classes. Takako apparently caught a sparrow in a trap box she designed. It was only slightly bigger than your palm and had a latch that could lock and unlock it. They didn't have any specific instructions, but everyone was provided with plans of bookshelves and drawers, which turned out to be for the basis for evaluation. Needless to say, Takako's grades weren't the greatest that semester. According to Sachiko, this was quite unusual for her, as she did have a talent for engineering. Takako caught the sparrow on the day she brought the trap box back home. Apparently, sparrows would often fly into her house at that time. Takako figured they must have been attracted to the dried-up rice that would sometimes accumulate near their rice cooker. When she noticed a bird in her house again, she swiftly closed all the windows and doors and chased it all over the room with an insect net until she eventually caught it and put it in the box. Oh no. Sachiko got angry at Takako for stuffing the animal into a cramped box with no windows, telling her to consider how she herself would feel if she were in the bird's position, and that with no windows or any sort of openings, there'd be no way to tell whether or not the bird was in fact dead or alive. However, the sparrow didn't spend long in the trap. Takako's mother came back home when Takako was away playing, and as soon as she heard some peculiar sounds coming from inside the box, she found the bird and let it go. Takako complained to her mother when she returned, but got scolded instead, saying that she was lucky she didn't commit aviary manslaughter. The sparrow did not return to her house, ever again. According to Takako, a whole bunch of sparrows used to frequent their kitchen in the past, but not a single one had come since then. She wondered if they had some sort of means to convey information between each other. We left the premises of the mansion before I even realized it. I turned around to look at it from the road leading to the tunnel. By the way, have you spoken to Lily yet? I figured Kozue wouldn't be interested in the story, so I brought up something else. Their plan to meet an architect or whatnot. Not yet. You don't feel comfortable talking to her? It's not like that. Lily enjoys talking. Oh, Lily enjoys talking. I'm sure she'd be happy if you visited her. I glanced at Kozue, but she showed no reaction, so I continued. Oh, right. She told me a scary story the other day. Did you know that a person went missing at this mansion? No. I wonder if she tricked me. I've never seen more than 2 people working there to begin with. Oh, right. Kozue gave me a suspicious look as I said that. Much like last time, I said my farewells to her as soon as we exited the tunnel. She nodded and made her way down the slope. Is that another title screen? It is. I thought about going down to see, like, going around looking, see if I could find the penguin slide, but, I don't know. I don't really see what the point would be. I just have to, if it wouldn't have batteries in it if it wasn't, if it didn't already have batteries in it and it was all corroded. So I'd have to put batteries in it, and then I wouldn't have any way of showing any of you what it looked like. So all you would hear was the very loud sounds it made when it was on. So if I find it though, I'll take a picture and I'll put it in Twitter. I heard something that sounded. Oh, we're back to Sachiko. I heard something that sounded like the laugh of a child as I was reading a book in my room. I looked out the window to see two children playing with the snow. They disappeared behind a row of trees, leaving behind only a set of footprints. I didn't feel like going back to the book. The snow sparked vividly in the warm sun. I felt like finding someone and having a conversation. Anyone would do. As I was putting on my sweater, I spotted an encyclopedia on the table. For a moment, I was confused by the unfamiliar book, but I soon remembered it to be the one that Kozue brought me. I recalled my conversation with Narasaki from yesterday. I wonder if she forgot it. I considered returning it to the library, but instead decided to personally hand it to Narasaki. With that in mind, I placed the book in my handbag. As I was walking through the mansion, I realized something was odd. It was a distortion of sorts. Although the windows on the first and second floors all opened the same way, they gave me different views. From the first floor, I saw the port town in the mountains, while the second floor windows gave me a view of the inner yard, which was supposed to be on the other side. Oh, this is not look amazing, and I see we also have no audio despite the fact that the Elgato is unmuted. The number of rooms and windows didn't seem to add up either, while the ceiling seemed to rise higher and sink lower depending on my location. I wonder, is she in the one that Takako is at? I don't think that would really explain why the courtyard would be in a different space, but if they actually aren't the same thing and they're just two buildings that look identical, that would be interesting. Because I'm still not sure how any of this is related. Could this have been the result of the renovation? Or was this place always designed like this? I wondered what could have led to this. Even after exploring all three floors, I ran into no one. In the end, I went outside, letting the chilly air bite at my exposed cheeks. I couldn't see a soul around. The children had probably moved on to somewhere else. Snow had piled up quite high around the area of the fence. Am I sure? Is the Elgato really working? Am I sure the Elgato's working? I just want to make sure. Yeah, it's working. There's just no audio. I could still see the footprints on it. I followed them, only to realize they were leading to the inner yard. Oh, there you are. What happened to the snow? Hello? Also, I forgot her accent. I finally find you. Finally found you. Not foundly find you. I heard a door. Or, I heard a voice as I was about to open the door leading to the east wing. Nanai's wooden sandals clinked against the stone road. Do I have a sound effect for this? No, more like You weren't in your room, so I was looking for you. I guess you came outside. Yeah, my eyes got tired after reading for too long, so I went out for a walk. I see. Oh, I see. Would you like to accompany me to the bath right now? It's the open-air bath I mentioned before. Right now? It's still noon. Taking a bath in the middle of the day feels all sorts of luxurious, no? I like it personally. It's almost like you're talking about a drink. Well, that's not so far off the mark. Sounds interesting. I'll go get dressed then. Alright. Like you weren't already dressed, you're just walking around in your pajamas, Takako? Or Sachiko? I'll be waiting at the cafeteria. I felt an odd sense of discomfort in the back of my mind as I opened the door. The Akasha Terminal? What's wrong? Asked Nanai. I think I wanted to ask you about something. About what? I was pretty sure I wanted to confirm something with her, but I couldn't quite remember it. Akasha Terminal? I forgot. Don't hesitate to ask whenever you remember it, said Nanai as I gave up and entered the mansion. We walked along the mountain stream nearby to the waterfall we'd seen earlier. We'll have to walk for a bit, but it shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. Oh, I don't mind. Figured I could do with some more exercise anyway. The mountain path was wide enough for us to walk next to each other. I heard the cry of a bulbul from somewhere. Bulbul? I looked up to see the mountains with stretches of yellow and red above the treetops. I quickened my pace so I wouldn't fall behind. A tiny stream serenely trickled down the gentle slope. I spotted a familiar vegetable by it. Isn't that dropwort? Yeah, but some of those are poisonous. Poisonous? How do you tell them apart? The poisonous ones have a subterranean stem, like mushrooms. Their traces are visible to the naked eye, provided you look hard enough. Guess it's already the season of the 7 herbs, huh? 7 herbs and spices? Isn't it a bit early? No, that's 11 herbs and spices. You can find them in the mountains. At least the shepherd's purse and the hen bit. How about we fix them on our way back? I'm sure the colonel won't mind. I can make tempura with them later. That sounds nice. I spotted what looked like a big cave at the end of the road. Are we passing through this? Yeah. Scared of the dark? Not really. The surrounding shrubbery prevented me from making it out from a distance, but as we drew closer to the entrance, I realized it was no cave at all, but a brick tunnel. It looked pretty old. The cracks on its walls grown over by greenery. I'm not scared of the dark, but... Inside, I couldn't see further than 5 meters at most. Anything further in looked like it was painted over by black ink. There seemed to be some cables leading inside. I spotted something that looked like the remains of a lamp, the string of which probably continued into the tunnel. Still, it looked pretty evident that none of these things had been working in order for years, or had been in working order for years. How long is it? I'd say about 60 meters or so. Nanai's wooden sandals scraped against the sand-covering ground. I followed her, sensing the light behind me grow more and more distant. When we reached the area I couldn't see from the entrance, the darkness grew even thicker. If that wasn't enough, the sounds within the tunnel suddenly felt amplified too. Hold on. This used to be an old railway. There are tracks under the sand, so be careful not to trip. At this point, I couldn't see the walls. I no longer had any idea how wide this place was. Huh, better hold my hand, said Nanai before completely disappearing from sight. I clasped the hand she extended toward me. Looking behind, I saw a thin patch of white light in the distance where the entrance was, but it got displaced to the right the further we walked, eventually disappearing completely. I looked ahead to realize I couldn't even see my own hand. Are you okay? Buster Wolf. Tell me if I'm going too fast. Okay. I occasionally heard her voice, our footsteps and the sound of dripping water, but they all reverberated across the tunnel in a way that made me completely lose my sense of distance. I can't tell where we're going at all. We won't hit a wall, will we? I'm following the railroad tracks, so we won't hit anything. Besides, I've been through this tunnel a million times. I remember the correct path. I stepped on something and staggered a little. I'm impressed you can walk here dressed like that. Haha, I'm used to it. I've been playing in these parts since I was little. That said, I can't say I've been to a darker place. What kind of games could you play in a place like this? Well, you know, hide and seek. Here? Yeah, you've got to be real good to find someone in here. Weren't you scared? Not really. I was more scared of being found. When you're a kid, you get real serious about these things. So eventually, having it find you becomes really terrifying. Or was that just me? It might just be you. You crouch down somewhere between the center and the wall, then before long, you hear footsteps approaching. The louder they get, the closer you know it is, searching for you along the walls with a stick or something. And if you're lucky, those footsteps might pass right by you as you wait there, holding your breath. Have you actually been found here before? Yeah, and quite a number of times too. There was a time when the it let out a loud scream right as they passed me by, and that scared me so much I started screaming myself. And this other time, I waited until it passed, and as I relaxed and started moving, another it that stayed behind found me. They synced their footsteps so I couldn't tell them apart as they approached. I'd start crying if any of those happened to me. Anyway, that's why you're desperate not to be found out. You can't breathe when someone's passing by you. Even your heartbeat and the flow of your blood feel too loud. The trick is to think you're a stone, or another railroad track, or a stain on the wall. You've got to become one with your surroundings. You've got to believe you don't exist at all. Your game is seriously scary. Yeah, one time I actually fell asleep. Or maybe I really ended up believing I didn't exist, but it was like I suddenly regained consciousness after losing track of time. And for a while, I couldn't tell who I was. I couldn't see my limbs or anything in the dark. I don't think I even realized I had eyes. I eventually ended up staggering out of the tunnel, my mind as empty as ever. Only once I saw myself in the evening sun, along with all the familiar trees, streams, and the library in the distance, did I remember who I was. As you can imagine, I hurried home right away. I could have sworn I saw some white mist in the darkness. Upon closer inspection, I spotted a crouching Nanai surrounded by it. We passed by her. And here's the exit. I saw the light in the distance. It grew bigger and bigger with each of our steps. The raindrops on the ceiling sparkled in the light like stars. I could make out a hand holding mine in the darkness. Its long, warm fingers felt somewhat nostalgic. As I let go of her hand, Takako turned to me. What's wrong? The countless stars of the Milky Way extended across the sky. Southern Cross shone almost blindingly in the distance. Oh wait, was that the outfit that she was wearing during their trip to the island? I don't know. I felt odd for a moment. Takako let out a laugh. I could hear the soughing of waves somewhere behind me. It is! This is from the very beginning. Remember this? Remember this? I guess we had enough fun for today. We still have a whole day left here, so maybe it's about time we return to our cottage. Oh, she doesn't have a valley accent, what am I doing? I followed Takako's gaze to see a long, shallow bridge leading to a cottage above the cobalt blue sea, sparkling in the moonlight. Hey, let's lie down on the terrace benches and watch the stars. Then let's sleep together. I could make out black hair and black eyes reflected in Takiko's pupils. You're planning to sleep in the dream? Someone took my arm from behind and jerked me back. I heard the sound of a foot kicking up dirt. Are you okay, Sachiko? As my hand was pulled, I thought I saw red hair for a moment. Narasaki's voice lingered in my ears. I'm okay. My arm hurt. Nanai supported my weight in the blinding darkness. What happened? It came so out of nowhere, I almost fell with you. I'm sorry. The exit's just a few steps away. The hot springs had a simple dressing room, and with that, I'm gonna take a brief moment to stop talking. So, I guess I'll just go here. But I'll turn off this music and just let the Elgato play. Turn this back on. Go back over here. Turn the Elgato back on. There we go. Yeah. The hot springs had a simple dressing room. There were 2 sinks with a hairdryer next to each. As I found a hanger and hung my coat on it, Nana handed me a towel. You can use this to wash yourself. Thanks. I took it off her hands. You can soak it in the water if you want, but Auntie might get angry if you do. I know how this works. It's okay. Nanae folded her clothes and put them in the basket. She then finally took off her pendant, placing it on top of them. Noticing my gaze, she said it was just a protective charm. It was a simple silver cylinder attached to a chain. Nanae entered the bathroom ahead of me. I also folded my clothes and then put them in the basket, then followed Nanae through the door that turned out to be barely holding onto its hinges. Why is she wearing a yukata? I guess she was wearing it when she brought Sachiko to the mansion originally. There are 3 baths in total, all surrounded by rocks and located at different levels of elevation, reminding me of terraced rice paddy fields. I stepped into the one in the middle, as it was closest to the entrance. Let's see, it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. Another CG, of course. Not what I was expecting, though. It's hard to tell about the other heights, but... Phew. My limbs, having grown cold without me even realizing, gradually began to warm from the hot water. Are they gonna do the thing where you take the hot bath? Or, what is it? Yeah, you take the hot bath and no, it's the cold bath and the hot bath. What is it? Hot bath, cold bath, and the outdoor bath, and then hot bath, cold bath, outdoor bath, and you just keep doing the cycle. Oh, I didn't think there'd be any more left. Nanae scooped up a small yellow leaf between her thumb and index finger. I could see countless tiny stars sparkle upon the transparent surface of the water. The branches of the surrounding trees extended above the hot springs. It sure warms you up. If you'd prefer something hotter, you can try the bath one step higher. It's closer to the source. I'm fine right here. The hot spring at the top seemed to be a simple one as well. Its water is translucent and odorless. Okay then. In that case, come over here. She pointed at a spot in the shadow of one of the branches opposite where I sat. If you look to the left, you can see the library, right there by the mountain. See? I followed her finger to see a canopy of countless trees swaying in the wind. I could make out the library dome amidst that sea of greenery. Found it? You can even see the whole town from this vantage point. The pale mountains in the distance almost melted into the boundless blue of the sky. I could make out the contours of a small port town at the foot of the slope. That's quite a view. Almost no one knows about this spot. I can pretty much have it all for myself. The hot springs here are also the rare carbonated kind. Apparently, they loosen your blood vessels and help with high blood pressure, heart disease, and other circulatory problems, which does wonders for your skin. Look, you can even see the bubbles near your skin. Nanae stroked her arm, causing the little bubbles around it to burst. You really do know everything about this area. Well, of course I do. I've lived here my whole life. You're like the witch of the forest. Hey. I might be a witch, but I'm no old crone. I'm as old as I look. So, you're a wicked witch then? No, I'm a good witch, like Samantha. And Sabrina. Are you sure you're not older than you look? There weren't many kids my age around here, so my mom and auntie took me out for picnics a lot. We went gathering wild vegetables too. Like Hisui. Yep. You'd be just as knowledgeable about plants and birds if you lived here. I wonder about that. Your surroundings naturally seep into you before you know it. At times, I honestly feel like we're all just products of our environment. Like mirrors that reflect only parts of the world around them. Nanae paused, seemingly searching for the right words. The only thing that differs between said mirrors are their size, shape, and the direction they're facing. What about colors, or the condition of the glass, like stains and cracks? Yeah, that too. And so, you're only a warped reflection of your surroundings and the people around you. Maybe that's true. I wonder what the shape of your mirror is. I'm sure it's shaped like this mountain, or the forest, or my mansion. As I've said, I pretty much grew up living and breathing this place. I feel like I can see the forest and the mansion much better when I'm with you. Thanks. What do you think your mirror is shaped like? Mine? I guess it's hard to figure out something like that about yourself, Nanae added as I fell silent. A small red star danced through the air and landed on Nanae's head. Noticing my gaze, she placed her hand on her head and picked up a leaf. I didn't notice at all. She let out a hearty laugh. Like you said, I didn't live a particularly introspective life. But if there's one thing I've always had my eyes on, it's my but if there's one thing I've always had my eyes on, it's my childhood friend. Oh? That sounds romantic. I wonder. I think I've already told you, but that person is no longer here. What do you mean romantic, Sachiko? You're literally dating her. I'm not sure how to put it, but I'm still jealous in a sense. I wish I could have met your friend. Another leaf landed on Nanae's head. You know, I just realized something. What? Why didn't you bring a flashlight to that tunnel? I thought it'd be more fun that way. Should've known. Wait, so does that mean that the part where Takako and Sachiko went to Italy and met Nanae, does that mean that that was another hallucination? And that Takako was by herself, or Sachiko was by herself and Takako wasn't there? Is that what that means? Because I'm very confused. Phew, that sure was nice. Let's hurry back home before we catch a cold. Nanae stepped out of the dressing room while I was gazing at a big maple tree. Wrong way. Nanae stopped me just as I started in the direction we'd come from. Let's go back through a different route. She began walking in the opposite direction. I followed her. This alternate route down the mountain had a small safety fence, but I wasn't sure how helpful that would be once you actually tripped. I looked over the fence and, through some branches, saw a glimpse of the mansion's roof in the distance. Nanae took out a green candy from her sleeve and popped it in her mouth. Here. She offered me a red candy. I'm fine. Okay then. Nanae put the red candy into her mouth. I heard her bite through it. You like candies? Yeah, I guess. You had some with you when we went to the waterfall too. I get hungry easily. You're hungry? This is my emergency fuel. Oh, this is my emergency fuel. Think of it as coals in a steam engine. Are your teeth okay? I've never been to a dentist in my life. I guess my parents didn't love me very much. Do you mean that story about oral bacteria transmitted by the mother causing bad teeth? I never believed that. I don't know about that, but it's true that my mother didn't pay much attention to me when I was little. I'm not sure how to explain it, but she was kind of unable to pay attention to multiple things at the same time. When she focused on her work, she'd forget to eat, sleep, pretty much everything else. The same rule applied to the people she loved. When I was little, she had someone more important than me. You don't love your mother? Never really gave that much thought. I don't know, it just felt normal to me. But I did feel a bit jealous when they looked happy together. I think that's still better than forcing yourself on others, at least. Yeah, I think I understood that back then too. I heard her chew through another candy. Wait a second. Nanae leaned over the fence to the right and plucked out some plant. Let's go. What was that? Here. She showed me a long stem with many small leaves on it. Oh, a shepherd's purse. Yep, found it right away. Luck seems to be with us today. She put it in the basket she carried. She took it from the dressing room of the bathhouse. And with that, we continued down the road. Can you find any other vegetables here? Dropworts and henbits grow here in droves. If you see something that looks edible, tell me. I'll give them a look so we don't poison ourselves. Okay. 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 We came out to a wide, even road. It grew brighter as the trees thinned out. By the time the scale roof of the mansion disappeared from view, our basket had been filled to the brim not only with dropworts and henbits, but shiitake and oyster mushrooms as well. We certainly managed to pick a lot. I didn't have high hopes, but I guess you can still find them if you look hard enough. Did you just admit that it really was too early in the season for them? Come on, all's well that ends well, you know. We came by a stone irrigation channel, a sign that we were getting closer to home. I spotted a familiar vegetable near my feet, right under the leaves. Isn't that butterbur? Oh, it totally is, but it's still pretty small. Can't we eat it? It's not a good idea to eat them when they're this small. Gotta be patient until they grow bigger over the winter. I'll go wash the dirt off our plunder. Give me a moment. She descended the stone steps and leaned over the edge. Leaning over the edge, immersed the entire basket in water. The dirt was swept away in the translucent liquid, traveling toward the mansion. It stings. Nana continued to wash the vegetables with her bare hands. I spotted an odd branch covered in bundles of white hair. What's this? Ah, it's a pussy willow. Nana lifted her face while remaining seated. She broke the willow branch in half and ascended the stairs. Here you go. I took one of the resulting branches from her. You like pussy willow trees? I think I do. I touched the hairy bundle, finding it just as soft as its appearance would suggest. I like them too. My mother used to keep a branch in our room at all times. I didn't get why she refused to pick more colorful looking flowers, but now I myself lean toward this kind of simple aesthetic. My right hand has gotten all red. Let's hurry home, Kay. Nana started down the road. We were so close to the mansion that I could no longer see the entirety of its building. The high wall of the east wing filled the entirety of my vision. I turned around and saw a mountain covered in lush greenery. Above it drifted a huge cloud, looking almost like a vast layer of snow. We might be getting snow tonight. Nana turned to me before I knew it. You think it's gonna pile up? Yeah, it's definitely that kind of... Oh. You think it's gonna pile up? Yeah, it's definitely that kind of cloud over there. Let's go back and warm ourselves. Okay. Sachiko, the queen of enthusiastic responses. Okay. Yes. And I think that's a great place to end today's SeaBed stream. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Also, I'm a little sad that we never saw that we were playing as Sachiko, and she said she put on a sweater. I was like, when will we ever see what Sachiko looks like? We've seen like we always see everybody else because it's always first person. We almost never seen what Sachiko looks like in modern times. Like, we've seen her in the gown, and we've seen her in the school uniform. But that's pretty much it, aside from the casual outfit that we saw in that one scene and the bonus art. But we basically like never see her. We see tons of scenes with Takako in them. Even like on Takako's point of view, we see tons of CGs that have Takako in them. We hardly ever see Sachiko though. Oh, there was this one too. I think that's kind of interesting. I'm also not sure why Nana decided that she wanted to wear yukata. I guess for the aesthetic. The aesthetic of going to an outdoor bath. But like even... See, here's another interesting one. I guess it's because they have Sachiko and Takako here. But like, look. Here's Sachiko. Here's Narasaki. And here's Mayuko, but there's no Takako sidebar. There's no Takako sidebar. There's one that has Takako and Sachiko from high school. And there's one that has like current Sachiko, Kurt Narasaki, and Mayako, but we don't have anything for Takako? Excuse me. Anyway, I don't think we unlocked any tips either. No. We still just have landscape immersion, which is unfortunate. Those seemed really interesting. We kind of slowly creep through the mystery, but there's some things that just kind of happen. It seems like they kind of go, and I just kind of go, huh, interesting. Fascinating. Like, we were pretty linear. It was kind of like, oh, we're on the island, flashback to middle school, then like our vacation and everything like that, then the death, and then it's like fast forward to the future, and we got Takako here. And then we kind of got into the whole like Takako, Mayako, Sanae kind of thing. And then we got back to present day. And we've kind of been going back and forth. But I don't think we're any closer. I don't feel any closer towards understanding what's happening in this game than I was at the very start. Also, who was this? Is this Sachiko? Yeah, this was Sachiko. Yeah. That was Takako. And they're also both hallucinating. They both have the ear ringing, and they're both having mild hallucinations. Sachiko's were really bad, but they're both like somewhat hallucinating each other. But Sachiko, or Takako, like barely brings up Sachiko until recently. And for whatever reason, she doesn't know why they separated. So I'm very confused about what's happening. Hopefully all will be revealed. Eventually. We got 2 more CGs. This was a nice one. And also home of like one of the best musical tracks in the whole game. I don't know, I'm quite frankly more interested in the flashbacks and like Takako's side of the story right now, just because I don't know, I get it's kind of like a chill kind of thing where just like ordinary stuff is happening, but I kind of do wish they would kind of move along with the story a little bit. I really want to know what this mystery is, but aside from that, let me move over here. And I don't even remember. I downloaded the demo for Monarch. I really have no idea like what it's about. I have no recollection of what it was. I think I vaguely remember a screenshot. Sure, I'll use Japanese voiceover. Adjust the thing so it's barely visible. I'll just do with this. I'll just leave it at default. Casual. Casual, turn on to reduce damage taken by 30, and mad gain in the mist by 50. Difficulty can be changed. We'll keep that off for now. If you wish to be your own person, to have your own ego, then don't give in to what others call normal. Only you can defend your will and desires, your belief and morals. Because of this unjust world formed of incomplete thoughts, your ego is what makes you who you are. Should the world deny your ego and refuse to accept it, then prove to the world that you'll live by your own rules. Okay, motivational quotes. Ah, this is the game I thought it was. I'm gonna go back over to the Elgato. This like weird... Yeah, like I don't I don't know, it looked interesting, so I was like, oh, I'll get the demo. Oh, wait. Status. Oh. What's quick mean? Oh, quick. Select action. Arts slash. Interesting. Interesting. Oh no. I've died. I'm sure this too is part of the plan. Oh, cutscene. Oh, it looks so much better on the stream. I forgot that this monitor is awful and makes everything look super grainy. I always forget that this monitor makes every game I play on it look like it's like a PS2 game. Dun dun dun. Okay. Okay. I need to remember that these games never look as bad as I think they do. It's just the fact that this monitor is really bad and makes all the games look like they're really bad. Kensuke, is that you? Oh, it's not Kensuke. I thought they said no flash photography, lady. Anyway. Going back over here. I will play Monarch on my own time. Probably. I will not be streaming it because it's a demo. Why would I stream a demo? I'm probably not going to buy the game. But I will play the demo. Anyway. That is another entry on the hit series SeaBed Saturday. The ASMR stream is still up, so if any of you want to donate points to that goal, that community goal, remember, you only get to do it once per stream. And if you have not done it this stream, that is a potential 2,000 points that you are behind, an additional 2,000 points that you may need to enter at a later day. Fortunately for me, and unfortunately for you, but also kind of fortunately for you, there were no dropped frames today. So as such, there will be no bonus points to be given out. And with that, there's not too much to say. I guess just that it's time to end, and I'm gonna end the stream. And who knows? I think I'm gonna do the Archon quest next week. Whenever I stream next week, I'm gonna try and just do Archon quest and just blaze on through. Because and it's not even because I want to get the Archon quest done. It's because I want to be able to do my Sumeru bounties and my Sumeru requests and start getting my Sumeru reputation. And I can't do that if I don't have a 90 more like Sumeru reputation. And I don't think I'm going to get to 20% exploration on Sumeru unless I really grind out and run around, and I really just don't want to do that. Sumeru is just so vertical, so there's so much up and down and so much random, like, oh haha, this is actually underground through a long elaborate tunnel that you have to enter from miles away. So, cool. But with that, I will say thank you all for watching. And I will see you all sometime next week, hopefully. Goodbye. Oh, wait. I forgot. Goodbye. Did you like that one? You like that one? I made a bunch of clips. I feel like there was a lot of clippable things that happened this stream. That'll be fun to go through. Anyway. Normally I just kind of let this play out, but I'm actually not today because I'm gonna go eat. So, let me put... Oh, speaking of putting emotes in chat, I promise I'm working on badges and emotes. Put that in chat. See you all later. Real goodbye this time. Bye.